Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic.
Revelations and rewards. Naruto and Jiraiya are currently in the Hokage's office discussing the upcoming invasion plot that had been discovered by Naruto. Flashback. Last night, after Naruto left, Naruto was currently jumping across rooftops trying to clear his head and come to grips about what the Sandaime is going to do. I can't believe Gigi is going to tell them about that. I never wanted anyone to know. The only person I ever told was Haku-chan. Now everyone is going to know. Naruto's musing was interrupted as he detected a spike in chakra to the east of him. What is that? There is nobody training this late. Even if there was, the training grounds are in the opposite direction. Deciding to see what is happening, he moves towards the source. Upon arriving, he finds the proctor of the second exam, Gecko Hayate, engaged in battle with the Jonin sensei of the Sand siblings. Quickly realizing this is no friendly battle after seeing the Suna Jonin narrowly be decapitated and retaliate with some sort of wind technique, Naruto decides to intervene. Drawing on small amount of demonic chakra, he flashes through hand signs and mutters, Kitsune no Sakaku, Kageno Karuku Kitsune illusion, Cloak of Shadows, to hide himself from sight and sneak up on the Sand Jonin. He comes up silently behind the Jonin during his gloating and pulls out a kunai and bashes him in the back of the head with the butt of the knife, knocking him unconscious. The danger past, he drops the illusion and rushes over to the coughing leaf Jonin who is losing blood fast and on the verge of passing out. Seeing the leaf Hittite on his left arm, he manages to force out before losing consciousness. Spy. Yakushi. Suna. Oto. Allies. Invasion brief coughing fit during the finals, warn. Hokage-sama. That is all he manages to say before losing consciousness. Still alive, however barely, he starts putting pressure on the wounds and flares his chakra to let someone know of his position. Feeling the chakra spike, a squad of Anbu on patrol suddenly appears. The squad takes in the scene while the leader, a female with purple hair and a cat mask, notices the wounded man and shouts, Hayate-kun. And immediately rushes and shoves Naruto out of the way to apply emergency first aid. Two other Anbu move to secure the Suna Jonin, while another Anbu, a tall man in a bear mask, walks over to Naruto and says, report. What happened here? Naruto starts to explain, but before he can start, Jiraiya arrives. Taking in the scene, he asks, Naruto, are you all right? What happened? I was just getting ready to tell Bear-san here that. But I would recommend we go see Hokage-sama about this. It's very important. Realizing the seriousness of the situation if Naruto calls his Gigi, Hokage-sama, Jiraiya looks to the bear-masked Anbu and nods, and all three disappear in their respective shunshuns towards the Hokage's office. Upon arrival, the trio is noticed by the Hokage, and seeing the serious looks on Jiraiya and Naruto's face, as well as the presence of the Anbu, Sarutobi immediately moves into Hokage mode, and snaps out, report. The duo looks at Naruto and he steps forward and gives a brief summary of all that happened. Flashback end. Sighing at his desk, the Sandaime says, an invasion during the Chunin exam finals with Oto attacking and Suna breaking the alliance with Konoha and helping. So that is what my former student was planning. Nodding, Jiraiya remarks, we always knew that Snake Tem would try to take revenge on you for passing him over for the title of Hokage. The bear Anbu speaks, Hokage-sama, we must make preparations. We have the Suna Jonin currently locked in the Anbu holding cells, and if Gecko-san's words are interpreted correctly, we have a spy in our midst named Yakushi. Naruto then speaks up, he must have been talking about Kabuto. He was in the exams with us and had all these fancy info cards that had a lot of information on everybody there. He had this creepy aura around him that made me nervous. Growing up like I did, I learned how to read people, and let me tell you, when Kabuto looked at me, shudders, it was like he wanted to dissect me or something. The Sandaime, nodding, says, "We have received reports of strange behavior on the part of Kabuto lately." "You're probably right there, Naruto." Turning to the Anbu, bear. "Gather a squad and assemble the clan heads and be discreet about it. We have to make plans on what needs to be done. Bring Danzo as well. He will find this out sooner or later, so he might as well be here." Jiraiya frowns at hearing Danzo's name, but says nothing, seeing merit in the statement. "Hi, Hokage-sama. It will be done." The Anbu shunshions away to carry out the Sandame's orders. Turning back to Naruto, "Thank you for coming forward with this, Naruto. Also thank you for saving young Hayate-san. If it wasn't for you, we might never have known this until it was too late. Now we can properly prepare for this. Now the clan heads are arriving soon. Normally you would not be present, but seeing as you are Jiraiya's apprentice and this information was brought forward by you, I will allow you to stay, but I ask you to be silent unless spoken to and show respect to the clan heads and Danzo. This changes our plans for you slightly. I did not plan to reveal you until later, especially to Danzo, but we have no choice now. I have to warn you, be wary of Danzo. I don't know what he might try against you." Bowing, "Hi Hokage Jiji." Naruto then moves to the side of the office as the clan heads begin arriving. Eventually the office was filled with the sleepy clan heads: Akamichi Shuza, Yamanaka Inoichi, Nara Shikaku, Aburame Shibi, Hyuga Hiyashi, Inazuka Sum and Shimura Danzo, all with a puzzled look on their face upon seeing Naruto and Jiraiya there, especially with Naruto's new look and features, but put it aside seeing the serious expressions on their faces. The Hokage then activates the privacy seals in his office. Stepping forward, Danzo is the first to speak. "Hiruzen, why have you called us here in the middle of the night? Also, why are Jiraiya and Uzumaki here?" "That will be revealed shortly, Danzo. First off, I want everyone here to know everything you hear during this meeting is classified information dealing with the survival of the village. This has the effect of snapping all assembled out of their sleep-induced stupor." Seeing them all paying attention, the Hokage decides to begin. "Approximately 45 minutes ago, Naruto-kun left my office after a short discussion between him, Jiraiya and myself regarding the results of his training. While traveling through the village, he feels a chakra spike and deciding to investigate, comes upon a battle between Gecko Hayate and the Sunajonin, Baki. After interfering and consequently saving Hayate-san's life, he found out about an invasion by Suna and Oto, led by Orochimaru, that is going to occur during the finals of the Chunin exams. Everyone's eyes widen at this news and Hiyashi asks, "I can see why you called us Hokage-sama, but why not assemble the full council to inform them?" Acknowledging the question, Hayate-san's information ousted a spy, one Yakushi Kabuto. "I am certain that he is gaining information through the civilian council, I am just not sure how yet. That is why I asked you all use discretion when leaving for here tonight." Shikaku speaks, troublesome. "So I assume we are here to come up with a plan of action." "Yes, this meeting is a war council, as we will soon." An Anbu then shunshins into the office and freezes upon seeing it fully occupied, but shakes it off and says, "Hokage-sama. Urgent information in a missive intercepted for Baki from Suna regarding a betrayal and invasion of the village. Report. Hi. As you know, we are holding Baki in the Anbu headquarters and intercepting any and all messages between Suna and their village's representatives here. Apparently the Cage has been killed by Orochimaru. A Genin team discovered the Cage's corpse along with his bodyguards. Their faces were missing and it was discovered they were killed by a potent snake venom. Everyone is blown away at this. The Sandame says, "This changes everything. Thank you, Sparrow, you are dismissed. Do not tell anyone else about this. There are spies in the village and we don't know how deep they are buried." "Hi, Hokage-sama." The Anbu shunshins away. Jiraiya speaks, "So Suna was tricked into attacking us by Orochimaru. We can use this to our advantage and have Suna on our side without Orochimaru finding out, and when he starts the invasion, he will get a nasty surprise." Sum speaks, "So what are we going to do about the snake traitor?" The Sandame, I know my old student very well. He probably has two goals for this invasion: kill me and cause as much damage to the village as possible. It's time I finished what I started, so I will fight Orochimaru. Danzo, no offense Hiruzen, but you are not in your prime anymore. If you fight Orochimaru, he may very well win. What do you suggest I do? There is no way I can send somebody in my place. Except for Jiraiya, nobody would be strong enough. Even if we tried to substitute myself with him, the cage box has chakra disruptors that detect and dispel any henge or genjutsu. So it would be impossible to disguise him. I may be able to help with this kit. Step forward and summon me. They are all going to find out sooner or later. Stepping forward, Naruto addresses everyone. That may not be true. I may have a solution, or rather, my tenant does. All eyes turn to Naruto, wondering what he means. Turning to the Hokage, he asks to speak with everyone. They were going to find out sooner or later. Eyes narrowing in suspicion, Danzo says, "What is the boy talking about, Hiruzen? How could the Kyuubi speak to us?" Sighing deeply, the Hokage decides to explain. I'm sure you all have noticed Naruto's new features. There is a reason behind them. Some of you may know that Orochimaru encountered Team 7 in the Forest of Death. In the process he placed a Gogyo Fuin on Naruto. When Jiraiya removed it several weeks ago, he and Naruto were pulled into the seal and met the fox. They worked out a deal and this is part of it. I'm sure Kyuubi can explain the rest. Do not overreact. Everyone is completely safe. Turning to Naruto he says, "Go ahead." Walking forward, Naruto asks, "Some room please." Everyone rather nervously steps back. Unraveling the bandages on his left arm, revealing the fox tattoo there, Naruto channels a small amount of demonic chakra, making everybody even more nervous, swipes some blood across the seal, and shouts out after slamming his hand on the ground, "Oni Kuchio's no jutsu." A small cloud of smoke appears and after it clears, Kyuubi, the size of a large dog, with 9 tails waving behind it, appears. Before anyone can panic, he raises one paw and says, "Do not fear. I mean no harm to you at the moment. I simply wish to speak to you all." Danzo, with narrowed eyes, asks, "How are you out of the seal and what do you mean you wish us no harm? You attacked the village before. What is stopping you from doing it again? I deserve your suspicions, human. What you don't know is that I was under a genjutsu when I attacked. I was ripped out of my previous container and had my will subjugated by a Mangekyo Sharingan." Inoichi shouts, "Impossible. The only one who could do that was Uchiha Madara and he died over 100 years ago." "You are wrong, human. That blasted Madara is still alive. A shell of his former self, but still alive. He bears the final level of the Sharingan, the eternal Mangekyo, which grants the bearer a form of my immortality. I know this because I am the one who created it." Eyes widening at this information, Shuza speaks, "You gave the Sharingan to the Uchiha clan." Nodding, "Yes. Did you think that any force beyond my creation would be able to subjugate me? But we are getting off topic. I did not intentionally attack this village." End of story. The Sandame nods, "Kyuubi is correct. Naruto said that you had a suggestion." "Yes, I do. You said that you would not be able to disguise the perverted hermit due to seals that disrupt chakra. I can override that and cast a kitsune illusion on him." Shibi pushes his sunglasses further up his nose and stoically says, "I'm assuming this illusion utilizes a different method. Seeing as how the seals disrupt human chakra, logic dictates that the assumption of your own demonic chakra not being affected. The one who smells of insects is correct. I have been teaching the kid here kitsune illusions. The one I'm speaking of is similar to your henge, however it is solid and virtually impenetrable. I can cast this onto the perverted hermit and he will be able to take the old monkey's place, while he sees to the defense of his village." Shikaku sighs and says, "Troublesome. But it would work. If Kyuubi's word is to be believed, we would be able to successfully switch Sandame-sama with Jiraiya-sama with no one being the wiser." Sum, still skeptical, growls out, Why should we trust the Kyuubi with this? For all we know, it could be lying. Growling lightly, I know about your clan in Izuka. You understand the concept of honor unlike most humans. Unlike you all, I am not human, I am a demon and a demon has honor. So if I say something is true, it is true. Hesitant, but understanding, the Inuzuka head says, I suppose you're right. Sarutobi, addressing the fox says, so it is decided. We will use Kyuubi's plan. Thank you for your help. I will ask Naruto to summon you when we need you. Nodding, the Kyuubi vanishes in a red haze. Danzo, still curious, says, while this has been an enlightening experience, I still fail to see why you requested my presence here. Addressing the rest of the crowd, Sarutobi says, this meeting has served its purpose for now. If I keep you any longer, your families may notice you are missing. All except Danzo and Jiraiya are dismissed. I want our Jonin commander, Shikaku, to draw up defense plans and have it on my desk by tomorrow. All the clan heads say, hi, Hokage-sama, and disappear in a shunshin. Jiraiya says, Naruto, meet me back at the hotel. There is something I need to talk to you about after I am done here. Okay, Jiraiya-sensei. And he disappears in a swirling column of blue fire. Turning to Danzo with a hard face, now that we are alone I'm going to speak plainly here, Danzo. I want your root Anbu. Eyes narrowing, Danzo replies, you know Yondaime-sama ordered it disbanded. I know nothing of root anymore. I said speak plainly, Danzo. I know you did not disband your root organization after the Yondaime ordered it. Do not try to deny it, I've known for years. Eyes widening slightly, but nodding, very well. I see there is no point in denying it. But why now? I allowed it because I know, despite your questionable and sometimes despicable methods, you have the best interests of the village at heart. I knew you could take care of things from the shadows, while I was the public figure. You would take the jobs that no one else would and leave no trace. I do not like your methods, so I turned a blind eye as long as you never decided to work against the village. I know a lot of your secrets, Danzo. He looks pointedly at his bandaged arm and eye. Slightly nervous and paling slightly, Danzo says nothing but his expression shows his surprise. Yes, I admit I was horrified when I discovered the information. Collaborating with Orochimaru to desecrate the grave of our sensei, Hashirama, for his DNA, steal Uchiha Shisui's eye, and the eyes of other Uchiha the night of the massacre, I was sorely tempted to end your life, then and there. To have gone so far to fight against death and obtain the power of the Biju was disgusting to me. However, no matter how much my own morals screamed at me, I take the job of Hokage very seriously. I know sometimes that decisions have to be made that will be for the good of the village. So, I again turned a blind eye because I knew, as sickening as it was, we still needed you to operate from the shadows. Danzo simply asks, how did you find out? Jiraiya steps forward with a dark look on his face and says, he found out from me when I found documentation of the procedure at one of Orochimaru's bases. So you are blackmailing me. Frowning, the Sandaime says, I was not planning on this, Danzo. But my hand has been forced. I'm sure you can understand. Some of the things you have done could be considered treason. But at the moment you are a necessary evil. Nodding, Danzo says, there is nothing I would not do for the good of the village. I'm glad you still recognize that despite your peace-loving ways. Our methods may be different, but we do have a common goal, the continued protection and prosperity of Konoha. What is it you need me to do? Like I was saying, I need your root Anbu. There is much corruption in this village. Especially on the council. They are blinded by greed and power. I have no doubt they would sell out this village and anyone in it just to fill their pockets with money. For now, there is not much I can do. I have plans in motion though that will slowly turn the balance of power back in favor of the Hokage position. Using their power, they have committed numerous crimes and covered it all up. All while weakening the village as a whole. It honestly would not surprise me if some on the council were helping Orochimaru in this invasion. Nodding in agreement, Danzo says, I am aware of this. They have several people in government positions in their pocket, ready to do their bidding. However, there is much happening you may not know. I've been compiling proof of their crimes for quite some time to use as blackmail. Perhaps it's time to use it. I want to try my plan first. But if it does not work, I will use your proof. I want to change the village as a whole and remove its corruption. Not simply replace one corrupt leader with another. Your plan might cause that. What is your plan exactly? I cannot tell you that. I may need you, but I don't necessarily trust you not to try and subvert my movements. I will tell you it involves Jiraiya and Naruto and certain secrets that will soon be made public. Very well. However, that surely is not all you need my root for. What else is there? You are correct. I am sure the council has taken advantage of the amount of paperwork I've had to do over the years to slip a few decrees through that benefits them in some way. I want at least 6 of your root to go over every decree or law made since Minato died and I resumed my title as Hokage. I want to find out how much has slipped through the cracks. Jiraiya speaks, that is a wise idea, sensei. There is no telling how much they have tried to take advantage of you over the years. Nodding, Danzo says, indeed. You have gone soft in your old age, Hiruzen. It would not surprise me. What do you want me to do about the invasion? I want you to covertly reinforce the village's defenses. I want at least 2 root in every department regarding the village's security to report any leaks to you and fix them. I also want several root and my trusted Anbu to search out any and all spies in the village. I want them all found. Either get them to turn on their employers and work for us or quietly eliminate them. I want no evidence found linking their disappearance to the village. Finally, before the fighting starts, I want you to quickly and quietly kill as much of the sound ninja in and around the village as you can. The less forces Orochimaru has to work with, the better. Very well, Hiruzen, it will be done. Is there anything else you require? Shaking his head, no, my old friend. That is all. You are dismissed. Bowing slightly, very well. I will begin my tasks immediately. Walking out the door, he stops and gives some parting words, and Hiruzen. It is good to see your will of fire still burns. With those words, Danzo leaves. After the door is shut, Jiraiya sighs. I don't like this, sensei. You are giving Danzo too much power. It may turn around and backfire on you. I don't plan to let him think he can do whatever he wants. I will have him watched. But I don't think he will betray me now. We may not like each other very much, but we both care for the village more than anything. Shaking his head slightly, just be careful, sensei. Danzo will not always be on your side. I'm going to go back to Naruto. I've been meaning to tell him about his parents for a while now. It's time he knew. With that, Jiraiya vanished in a swirl of leaves. With Naruto. Naruto was reading a scroll on ceiling while waiting for Jiraiya to show up, but he was having trouble concentrating. What troubles you, Kit? I can feel your inner turmoil. I'm worried about Gigi. Do you think this plan of yours will work? Will we be able to survive this invasion? Don't worry, Kit. The monkey may be old, but he is still Hokage. He will ensure the village will survive this. Yeah, you're right. I wonder what it is that Ero Sennin wanted to talk to me about. It sounded pretty important. Looks like you're about to find out. He is here. Hey Ero Sennin. Did the meeting go okay? Sitting down in front of Naruto, Jiraiya sighed and said, as well as it could go. I really hate politics sometimes though. Nodding in understanding, but still curious, so what is it you wanted to talk to me about? It sounded important. It is Naruto. I just ask that you keep a clear head with what you are about to find out. Everything that was done to protect you. Growing serious, what are you talking about? Staring Naruto in the eyes, he says, it's time you knew about your parents. Naruto's heart skipped a beat, he then shakily asks, my parents? UK knew them. Nodding, yes I did, Naruto. I promised them when you grew old enough and strong enough I would give you their legacy. Who were they? Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina. Your father was Namikaze Minato. The Yondaime Hokage. Eyes wide and skin paled, Naruto asks in a near whisper, I'm the son of the Yondaime. The one who sealed the fox inside me was my own father. Nodding, Jiraiya unsealed two large scrolls from seal on his wrist and sets them down in front of Naruto. The one wrapped in a red ribbon is from your mother, the one wrapped in a yellow ribbon is from your father. With shaking hands, Naruto grabs the scroll from his mother first. Recognizing the blood seal, he bites his thumb and drops some blood on the seal. Nervously, he opens the scroll and begins to read. My dear Sochi, son. My name is Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Kai Chishio no Habanero, red hot-blooded habanero, second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, last princess of Whirlpool and most importantly, your mother. There is so much I want to tell you but I don't have much time left. My strength is fading from having the Kyuubi forcefully removed. I'm so sorry I will not be able to be a part of your life. I know of Minato-kun's plan to make you the next Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I want to say I'm so sorry you have to bear such a burden. I know how life as a Jinchuriki can be. I know you will be strong, Naruto. You are a hero to everyone in the village, even if they refuse to believe it. At the bottom of this letter are two things I want you to have. The first is the Uzumaki Book of Seals. This book contains all of the collective knowledge of Uzumaki Fuinjutsu that has been passed down through the royal family, with each generation adding something to it. I leave this to you with the hopes you will eventually grow and end up adding your own parts to the book. Use it well. The second is the Uzumaki family sword, the Uzushio no Tamashi, soul of the whirling tides. This is a very special sword. It is semi-sentient that bonds with the wielder. Only someone of Uzumaki blood that the sword chooses will be able to wield it. To bond with the sword, you must kneel on the ground, while gripping the sword by the hilt and holding it with the tip facing the ground, place your forehead against the hilt and enter a meditative state. The sword will then see if you are worthy by reading your inner being. If successful, the sword's shape will change to reflect its wielder's soul. Bear it well and make the Uzumaki ancestors proud. It seems I'm out of time. Remember, I loved you more than anything in the world. You were the light of my life and a symbol of all that was good in the world. I love you so very much, Sochi. I'll be watching over you from above. Also, keep an eye on your godparents, keep Tsunade from drinking too much and give Jiraiya a good kick in the balls for peeping. Your mother, Uzumaki Kushina. Setting the letter down, he then picks up his father's scroll. Opening it, he reads. Naruto. If you are reading this, you have proved yourself strong enough to bear the burden of my legacy. My name is Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Kiroi Senko, Yellow Flash, the Yondaime Hokage, and a very proud father to you. I write this even as I'm holding you in my arms, preparing to use you as a sacrifice. I want to say I'm so incredibly sorry for what I have to do. But, as Hokage, there is no way I could ask someone else to give up their child, while I spare my own. I know sealing the Kyuubi in you will make your life miserable, but I know you are strong. I know you will be able to use the Kyuubi's power for the good of the world. I have faith in you. It pains me terribly to have to leave you, but I want you to know you are a hero. I know your mother left you some gifts, so what kind of father would I be if I did not do the same? At the bottom of this scroll are the two jutsu that made me famous, the Rasengan and Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. Learn them and use them to protect all who are precious to you. It's time for me to go. Before I do, however, I have to warn you. Beware the masked man with the Sharingan eye. He is a very dangerous man. He is the one who ripped the Kyuubi out of Kushina-chan. He has sinister plans and I fear for the world should he succeed. Live well and always know I'll be watching over you. I love you so very much. Your father. Namikaze Minato. Crying unabashedly now, Naruto chokes out in a voice thick with sadness, but at the same time, great joy. They really loved me. I wasn't abandoned. I had a family and parents who wanted me. Turning to Jiraiya, who is watching Naruto carefully, so I guess I get to call you, Jiraiya Otosan, now, godfather. Reaching over to grip Naruto in a hug, he starts soothing him. I guess so, godson. I also plan on finding Tsunade after this business with the invasion is over. We'll be a family. I promise. Now let's get some sleep. If I know you, you're probably itching to test out the stuff your parents left you. Hee, I suppose you're right, Jiraiya Otosan. Good night. Final preparations. The next morning, with Naruto and Jiraiya. We currently find Naruto and Jiraiya in the living room of the hotel, talking about the revelations of the previous night. So Naruto, how are you feeling this morning? You had a lot dumped on you last night. Looking out the window towards the Hokage monument, specifically his father's head, Naruto gains a content smile on his face and says, I feel great, Arrow Otosan. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders now that I know who my parents were. I was always told my father was some crooked drunk who killed himself somewhere, and my mother was a no-name whore who spread her legs for a quick Rio and then overdosed on drugs. I was told I was abandoned because nobody would want a demon spawn. Knowing what I know now, I simply feel happiness and relief. Looking at Jiraiya now, plus I still have some family around. You and this Tsunade woman are my godparents. You don't know how much I always wanted a family, a real family. Now I have it and I am happier than I have ever been. Smiling gently, but feeling the need to ask, so you don't hate your father for sealing the fox in you? Or me and Tsunade for not being there for you in your life? Shaking his head, Naruto says, no, I can understand my father's reason. If I was in his place, I would have done the same thing. I know you probably tried your best. But between keeping this village safe with your spy network and the council probably blocking every single attempt to get close to me, I can see how you did not have much time for me. But you're with me now and that is what matters. Taking a contemplative look, I don't know about Tsunade yet. You said she left the village in grief when she heard my mother died, who was really the only thing keeping her there in the village after losing her brother and fiancé. I would not put it past the council to have said I had died either. She might not even know I'm alive. I'll just have to find her and decide then. Proud of his godson's reasoning, Jiraiya smiles and says, that's a very mature outlook, Naruto. You are really growing up. I guess I am. Will you be able to help me with any of the things I got from my parents? Shaking his head, Jiraiya responds, I can help you with the Rasengan, but that is it. Your father was better at seals than I was thanks to your mother, and most of the Hiraishin is beyond my ability to understand. I'm afraid I'm not much of a Kenjutsu user, so I will not be able to help you with your sword. We'll have to find you a teacher after we leave. Reading scrolls can only go so far. The Book of Seals I'm a little uncomfortable with. That is your clan's history and prized techniques. It would not be appropriate for me to read it. I feel that is something best learned on your own. I will help look over any seals to correct your mistakes, but I think it's best if you do it yourself. Nodding in understanding, Naruto says, not a problem, Arrow Otosan. Do you have any suggestions of what I should start on first? Giving it some thought, Jiraiya responds, I would start on your mother's sword. If you get this bonding ritual done soon, you would be able to take it to the finals. Right now you still have the practice sword, but you need a real blade. Grinning eagerly, okay, it sounds like a plan. What should I do with the other stuff? Growing serious, Jiraiya says, it is imperative that we keep the Book of Seals and your father's jutsu out of the wrong hands. If it is all right with you, I would like to take your father's scroll and keep it on me until we leave. I will put a storage seal on your arm keyed to your blood that you can keep the Book of Seals in. Let's take care of it now while we have some time and then you can go work on your sword. Naruto nods and goes and grabs the scrolls. Handing his father's scroll to Jiraiya, who tucks it away, Naruto releases the storage seals on his mother's scroll. A long wooden case with the Uzumaki clan symbol etched on it appears, as well as a large book, also emblazoned with the Uzumaki crest, appears on the table. Okay Naruto, hand me your arm and we'll get the storage seal out of the way. This might be a little uncomfortable. Naruto does as asked and holds out his arm. Holding a finger out, Jiraiya mutters, Shikoku Fuin, finger carving seal, and it starts glowing. Naruto winces slightly when Jiraiya presses it against Naruto's skin as he then proceeds to draw the seal. Finishing after a minute or so, Jiraiya says, "All right, Naruto. Add a little blood and we are done." Naruto does so and the seal glows slightly before fading into black on his arm, looking like a tattoo. Seeing it complete, Naruto then seals the book away. Grinning, "All right, we're done. Now I'm going to get this sword ritual taken care of. You can go and do whatever it is you need to do. I'm sure the women at the hot springs could use a punching bag for a bit." Immediately thinking about how it had been weeks since he got any research done, Jiraiya then proceeds to run off, giggling lecherously. Walking over to the case, he opens it to see a beautiful, yet simple katana. Remembering the directions in the letter, he picks up the sword and kneels on the ground, holding the sword in the way requested. He places his forehead against the hilt and starts to calm his mind. Unknown to him, the sword starts glowing with a bluish light as he feels a pull in his mind before he is assaulted by memories of his past in rapid succession. He sees flashes of the beatings he suffered at the hands of the villagers, images of himself in an orange jumpsuit proclaiming himself to be Hokage, flashes of all the important people in his life such as the Hokage, the Ichirakus, Iruka-sensei, Jiraiya, Haku and even Kyuubi. As the images flash by, the sword begins to change. The blade turns a bright silver color with a gold wrap near the base of the blade, the hilt is bronzed, with a fox head at the top making the blade appear to be coming from its mouth. The grip is a black leather and the base of the hilt is capped off by a gold piece with the Uzumaki clan symbol emblazoned on it, surrounded by 9 red stones. The whole process takes around 20 minutes, and when Naruto opens his eyes, he is awed by the sword's new look, yet felt it was perfect as it was distinctly him. "This is amazing. I've never seen a sword like this. It feels perfectly balanced and not too heavy. It's perfect." Picking up the sheath that was also in the box, he attaches it to the back of his coat and slides the blade home with the sound of metal against wood. "Congratulations, Kit. The sword has accepted you. I'd recommend going to see the Hokage and see if he can get you some more Kenjutsu scrolls to practice with." "That's a good idea. I can also find out if that Hayate guy is alright when I go see him. I might go see how he is doing at the hospital as well." Storing the case and his mother's letter in one of the many seals stitched in his coat, he then makes a hand sign and shunsons to the Hokage's office. Arriving outside the tower, Naruto decides to take a page from Jiraiya's book and jump in through the window. Appearing in his office with a, "Hey Gigi." He then notices that the Suna Jonin from the other night is with the Hokage. Turning to him upon his entrance, the Hokage groans slightly, "Hello Naruto-kun. I see you've picked up Jiraiya's habit of jumping through the window and interrupting my meetings. I hope you aren't planning on picking up on his favorite pastimes as well." Shaking his head rapidly, he says, "No way. I'm not going to go peek on girls. I'm not a pervert." The Suna Jonin decides to speak up, "Hokage-sama. May I ask who this is and why he's interrupting our meeting?" Turning to him, the Sandaime says, "Ah yes. Introductions. Naruto-kun, this is Baki, the representative we have for Suna. Baki-san, this is Uzumaki Naruto, he's the one who interrupted your battle with Hayate last night." Bowing to each other slightly, the now identified Baki remarks, "So you're the kid that knocked me out. It takes a lot to sneak up on a Jonin undetected. Your stealth skills must be remarkable." Rubbing his head sheepishly, Naruto says, "I guess so. Nay, there are no hard feelings from last night, right? I was only trying to do my job and help Hayate-san." Shaking his head in negative, Baki replies, "No, there isn't. In fact, I'm glad you did. With what the Sandaime has told me happened shortly after my capture, it would have made allying with Konoha much more difficult if I had killed a Konoha Jonin." Looking serious, "So you're helping us now that you know Orochimaru killed your Cage?" Nodding, "That is correct. Most of Suna was not wanting to invade Konoha in the first place, but we had to follow the orders of Kazekage-sama. We had no idea it was really Orochimaru in disguise. But now that the truth was revealed, when the time for the invasion starts, Suna will fight with Konoha. This deception will not be tolerated. Smirking now, Naruto says in a smug voice, there is no way old Snakeface is slithering his way out of this one. I just hope I can get a blow in, 'cause I still got to pay him for putting that seal on me. Startled, Baki asks, Orochimaru gave you a cursed seal. How are you fighting its effects? Oh no, not that seal. My stupid teammate Sasuke Tem is the one that got that cursed hickey. I got a Gogyo Fuin placed over my seal. Naruto immediately realizes he might have said too much and his suspicions were confirmed when he saw the Sandaime wince slightly and Baki's eyes narrow. Your seal. So you're a Jinchuriki. Sighing, I don't think you were supposed to know that, but yeah, I am. I hold the Kyuubi. Eyes widening, Baki starts thinking, this boy holds the Kyuubi. That is the most powerful Biju in existence. Our own Jinchuriki would not hold a candle to him. I am starting to be glad that we don't have to fight Konoha. I'm beginning to think we would have lost. I see. Naruto now turns to the Hokage who has been watching their conversation. Hey Hokage Oji-san. I was wondering if you knew where I could get some more Kenjutsu scrolls. I've gone through all the ones I found already. Also, is that Hayate guy all right now? I wanted to go see him. The Sandaime, thinking back on a conversation he held at the hospital, decides to kill two birds with one stone. Flashback. Last night after the meeting. Walking into the hospital room, he is not surprised to see the purple-haired Anbu, now unmasked, sitting next to Hayate's hospital bed as he sleeps. The Hokage greets her. Hello Yugao-san. I trust Hayate-san is resting comfortably now. Nodding, the now named Yugao responds, yes he is. His wounds were serious, but they were able to stabilize him last night. I came so close to losing him, Hokage-sama. I don't know what I would have done if I did. Sitting next to her with a hand on her shoulder, the Hokage says, you should not think about such things Yugao. Hayate is alive and that is what matters. Nodding, hi Hokage-sama, you're right. I was wondering, who was the boy who saved him last night? In my rush, I forgot to catch his name. I would like to thank him. That was young Uzumaki Naruto. He has changed a lot in a short time, so I'm not surprised you didn't recognize him. Surprised? That was Naruto. You aren't kidding about how much he has changed. I didn't recognize him without that ridiculous jumpsuit he always wore. Chuckling lightly, yes, Naruto has decided to take his ninja life more seriously now. Turning to look at her with a twinkle in his eye, I heard he is now becoming an aspiring Kenjutsu user, but he does not have a teacher to help him right now, so he has just been practicing from some scrolls. Looking at the Hokage with a sly smile, that wasn't very subtle Hokage-sama. But I would be happy to give him some pointers before the finals. Next time you see him, send him my way and I'll see if I can help. Flashback end. I can actually do you one better Naruto-kun. You see, Hayate's fiancé is a Kenjutsu user, and has expressed interest in showing you a few things before the finals as repayment for saving Hayate. Are you interested? Smiling Naruto says, that would be great. I got to learn how to use my new sword anyway. Where can I find her? Smiling in a grandfatherly way, Sarutobi says, she is probably at the hospital spending time with Hayate. He hates hospitals almost as much as you do and has to require a guard to make sure he doesn't sneak out the window. Much like you're prone to do. I'm sure she is free right now. All right Gigi. Thanks for the help. Turning to Baki, it was nice meeting you as well Baki-san. Bowing slightly, Baki responds, likewise Uzumaki-san. Naruto then vanishes in a swirling column of blue fire. Arriving at the hospital, Naruto uses a quick henge to transform into a nondescript Anbu officer so as to avoid trouble and enters the hospital. Upon entering he walks up to the receptionist and asks, where is Gecko Hayate's room? Looking up, the nurse notices the Anbu and says, "Ah, Anbu-san, Gecko-san is in room 405. Nodding in thanks, Naruto walks off. Arriving outside the door, Naruto drops the hinge and knocks. Hearing an enter, he walks in and sees Hayate and a woman he assumes to be Yugao in the room. Bowing in greeting, Naruto says, "Hello Hayate-san. Are you recovering well?" Coughing slightly but nodding, Hayate says, "Hello Uzumaki-san. I hear it was you that saved me last night. I'd shake your hand, but I'm rather securely bound to the bed right now." Yugao then interjects with, "It's your own fault, Hayate-kun. If you did not keep trying to escape, you would not be strapped to the bed." A frustrated look on his face, Hayate says, "Come on, Yugao-chan. You know how much I hate hospitals." "Yes, I know. But you are still stuck here, so deal with it." Turning to Naruto, Yugao asks, "I assume Hokage-sama asked you to find me, correct?" Nodding, Naruto responds, "That is correct, Yugao-san. He said you might be interested in giving me some kenjutsu pointers." Smiling slightly, "That's right. It's the least I can do to repay you for saving my fiancée's life. Why don't you give me an hour and then meet me at training ground 17? I'll give you some pointers for the finals." Bowing again, "Thank you for the opportunity, Yugao-sensei. I'll see you soon then." Yane. Naruto vanishes with a shunshin towards the nearest hot spring to find Jiraiya and inform him what he is planning for the next few days. 45 minutes later. After searching all the public hot springs with no luck, Naruto is starting to get confused. "I've checked all of the hot springs. Where is that pervert? I've got to meet Yugao-sensei soon. I know he said he was going to go peeping, but I checked all the bathhouses except." Palming his face, Naruto groans, surely he did not go to that bathhouse. Not even he is stupid enough to try and peek there. Deciding to check anyway, he arrives shortly after at the Kunoichi-only hot springs, and sure enough, he hears the telltale scribbling and perverted giggle. Knowing the consequences of being a male getting caught there, he creeps towards his godfather and tries to get his attention. Naruto nears the tree his godfather is in and whispers, "Ero Sennin. Ero Sennin. Get over here, I have to tell you something." His godfather decides to ignore him and makes a shooing motion with his hand. "Ero Sennin, I'm warning you. Get out of there. I need to talk to you." Without taking his eyes away, Jiraiya says, "Not now, Naruto. Can't you see I got some prime viewing material here? But this is the Kunoichi-only hot springs. Do you want to get caught? Just go away, Gaki. I'm busy." Frustrated, he decides to teach Jiraiya a lesson, and with a vicious grin, Naruto says, "I warned you," and disappears in another shunshin down into no man's land. In the bathing area, we currently find many of the most powerful Jonin and Anbu Kunoichi enjoying the hot springs when a swirling column of blue flames interrupted the peace. Upon seeing a boy appear, they prepare to unleash hell on the pervert when they notice it is Naruto, with his eyes firmly closed and covered, bowing deeply with his head close to the ground. After seeing all the women covered in towels, Kurenai decides to be the one to speak to Naruto. "Everyone is decent, Naruto. Please raise your head and kindly inform us why you decided to enter the clearly stated, Kunoichi-only hot springs." Raising his head slightly and opening his eyes, he turns red in embarrassment at seeing all the towel-clad women, quickly turns around and decides to explain. "I'm sorry for the intrusion, Kurenai-sensei. I knew these were the Kunoichi-only hot springs. But before you decide to take away that which makes me a man, I want to say I am not being a pervert. I have great respect for women and would not dare violate their privacy by peeking. I just happened to be walking by when I noticed a man with long, spiky white hair giggling in the tree over there, currently peeking on you. Being the decent guy the first I felt the need to inform you." All women present currently turn to said tree and notice a very pale Jiraiya, frozen in fear at his presence being revealed. Upon seeing Naruto was telling the truth, Kurenai says, "Thank for informing us, Naruto. Also, thank you for not being a pervert. It's nice to see there are still some decent boys around." We will take care of this problem. Now please leave. You may not be peeking, but you are still a boy and you are not allowed here. Bowing towards the wall, Naruto says, "You're welcome. I can't stand perverted people, so I'm glad I could help. I won't intrude anymore. Again, I'm sorry for the interruption." Naruto shunsons to a nearby building to watch the fireworks. A murderous aura surrounds the towel-clad kunoichi and they all say in unison, "Oh Jiraiya-sama. We will kill you." The air was filled with the agonized screams of one white-haired pervert as he received a beating reminiscent of the time he got caught peeking on his old teammate, Tsunade. After 5 minutes of constant genjutsu, ninjutsu and taijutsu combinations, Jiraiya was left in a smoking heap on the ground before Naruto appeared. "I warned you, Ero Sennin. I just wanted to tell you I'm going to be training until the finals with Yugao in my kenjutsu, so I won't be home for a few days. Good luck and I hope you learned your lesson." Naruto vanishes to Training Ground 17 to start his training. Training Ground 17. Naruto appears in a swirling column of blue flames to the sight of an irritated Yugao, who decides to say, "I know you're on Kakashi's team Naruto, but I do not want you to be late like him." Chuckling, Naruto says, "I'm sorry Yugao-sensei, I was held up." Naruto then proceeds to explain the incident at the hot spring to Yugao, who bursts out in laughter. "Ha ha ha ha. That is funny. You actually went down into the Kunoichi hot springs and warned them about a pervert. You must have balls of steel to risk doing that. I suppose I can forgive you this time. Just don't do it again. Now let's get started." Pulling out her sword, Yugao says, "I need to gauge your current skill level before I can start teaching you. Now come at me and don't hold back." Pulling out the Uzushio no Tamashi and holding it in a reverse grip across his body, he sends a brief burst of chakra to deactivate his weights and resistance seal, then disappears in a burst of speed. Appearing above Yugao, Naruto slashes downward in a strike towards Yugao's neck only to have her own katana block the strike. Dashing away, he then appears in front of Yugao aiming for her sword arm with the strike again being parried. Yugao then taunts him by saying, "Come on Naruto. Surely that is not all you have. At this rate you won't be able to lay a scratch on me." Letting out a feral growl, Naruto charges in once again. Strike after strike being aimed at vital points and every time he is blocked. This continues for several minutes with Naruto getting more and more frustrated. Seeing Naruto losing focus, Yugao decides to take advantage and swiftly moves in, knocks his sword out of his hand and holding her own sword to Naruto's neck, thus signaling the end of the spar. Letting him go, Yugao steps back and lets Naruto retrieve his blade. After sheathing it, she then asks, "How did I beat you?" Still feeling frustration, Naruto says, "You're much faster than me, and stronger. I couldn't even touch you." Shaking her head, Yugao says, "Wrong. You are slightly faster than I am. You are definitely stronger physically than me. Try again." Taking a deep breath, Naruto decides to replay the fight in his head. Eventually though, it clicks, "I lost focus. I got too frustrated at not being able to hit you, I let myself get sloppy." Smiling, "That's right. Your emotions are running rampant while fighting and it shows in your style. Your emotions are what took your focus away." Looking contemplative, "So I have to calm down and not let my emotions cloud my focus." Yes. In a duel between two, equally skilled, masters of the blade, the one who loses his focus, even slightly, is the one who will lose. You must focus entirely on the battle and let your instincts guide your movements. Ignore all outside distractions. If you lose focus, it won't matter how many styles you've mastered, how fast you are or how strong you are, you will lose every time. Nodding in understanding, "I understand Yugao-sensei." Standing up, Yugao says, "You may understand my words, but saying and doing are two different things. Now let's begin again." This process continued for the rest of the week and Naruto ended up much better with a blade than when he started. While not an expert by any means, he was definitely comfortable wielding his blade and he could make Yugao give a decent amount of effort to defend from his strikes, even landing the occasional cut or scratch. Leaving on the day before the start of the finals, Naruto began to make his final preparations for the exam and the upcoming invasion. All over the village there were similar preparations being made for the upcoming battle until finally the day of the exams arrived. Epic battles and secrets revealed. There was electricity in the air. The village stadium was packed to the brim. Members of all the major clans, Hyuga, Inuzuka, Nara, Aburame, Yamanaka and Akamichi, were there. Many of the villagers, the ruling families made of various nobles and the fire and wind daimyo, all were there to see the finals for the Chunin exams. However, underneath the excitement, there was a tension in the air. Under the guise of increased security due to the increased foreign presence, preparations were being made for the coming battle. Various anbu and root were scattered across the stadium and throughout the village, subtly preparing to turn the tide when the time came. All were ready to act on a moment's notice when the signal to start came. In the cage box, we currently find Jiraiya, disguised as the Hokage, flanked by his two bodyguards Namiyashi Rado and Shiranui Genma, greeting the cage, and his guard as they arrive. Ah, cage dono. I'm glad to see you made it safely. How was the trip to the village? The cage, dressed in the traditional cage robes and hat, except in white and blue and with the kanji for wind on the hat, with a veil across his face allowing only his eyes to be visible, responds, "It was uneventful Hokage dono. I'm just glad the exams took place in Konoha this year. With your advanced age, I would have been worried you would have been unable to make the trip. Perhaps it's time to retire and let the younger generation take over." The Hokage lets out a loud laugh and says, "I may be old, but there is still strength in these old bones yet. I'm sure I've got a good few years left." Inwardly Jiraiya is thinking, "Make all the jokes you want Orochi Tem. Pretty soon the joke will be on you. Especially now that Naruto got the toads to help us again." Flashback. 4 hours ago. Looking down on his godson, Jiraiya starts, "Okay Naruto. As my apprentice and eventual successor, I am allowing you to sign the toad contract. I also need you to convince them to help us during the invasion. They are not very happy with Konoha because of how you were treated." Pulling the large scroll off his back and unraveling it on the ground shows two names written in blood, Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato. Looking at the last name, Naruto remarks, "So the last summoner was my dad. I get to sign the same contract as he did. That's awesome. Let's do it." Chuckling lightly at his godson's enthusiasm, Jiraiya says, "All right. Sign your name in blood then place your hand print below your name." After doing as asked, Jiraiya rolls the scroll back up and places it back across his back. "Now Naruto, I want you to try and summon the biggest toad you can." The hand signs are boar, dog, bird, monkey and ram. Channeling a massive amount of chakra that makes Jiraiya slightly nervous, Naruto flashes through the hand signs and slams his hand on the ground. Kuchio's no jutsu. A huge cloud of smoke appears and a booming voice echoes over the clearing. "Jiraiya, I thought I told you I did not want to be summoned. Now where are you so I can sit on you for not helping Minato's son?" "Oh no, not him. Why did I have to say the biggest toad he could? He just had to summon Gamabunta of all toads." Seeing Jiraiya's panicked look, Naruto decides to shout up to the now visible toad, "Hey Gamabunta-sama. I'm the one that summoned you, not Jiraiya Otosan. Please don't sit on him. He may be a pervert, but he is my godfather and I need him." Looking down, Bunta says, "You're Minato's brat. So Jiraiya let you sign the contract. You should know that we are refusing to help Konoha right now because of the way they treated you. It infuriated us when we found out and we refused to help out an ungrateful village who can't see that you're a hero to them." Nodding, "I am aware of that Gamabunta-sama. That is part of the reason why I needed to talk to you. There is going to be an invasion during the Chunin exam finals led by Orochimaru. We are going to need the toad's help. Looking curious, you wish to continue protecting the village after what it has done to you?" "Why?" A serious look on his face, Naruto replies, They may treat me like dirt, but not all of them are bad. I made an vow to a dear friend of mine that I would always protect that which is precious to me. The villagers may not like me very much, but the village itself is still precious to me, and I will continue to protect it as is my duty as a shinobi of Konoha. As the sun shines in his eyes slightly, Bunta could swear he saw an image of Minato overlaid across Naruto, but when he blinked it faded. He is just like his father in wanting to protect the village. He will go far. Nodding, very well Naruto. You and Jiraiya may call on us to aid the village when the time comes. We will make the necessary preparations. Good luck. Gamabunta then disappears in a puff of smoke. Flashback end. With a smile on the Hokage's face, oh yeah, the joke is definitely on you. Clapping his hands together, the Hokage says, well, it looks like it's time to start the exams. Getting up and walking to the end of the cage box, the Hokage's voice booms over the stadium, greetings and welcome to the third round of the Chunin exams. The final round will consist of a tournament of one-on-one battles to determine the overall winner. Fight well and with honor. I officially declare the start of the final round. Cheers erupt around the stadium as the Hokage returns to his seat and looks down at the competitors on the arena floor. Good luck, Naruto. Down in the arena, down with the contestants, everyone was looking in confusion at who the blonde guy in the trench coat, wondering who he is. Finally, it is Kankuro who decides to ask. Hey blonde guy, who are you? Did you get lost somewhere? This is where the competitors are. Turning and giving him a smirk on his face, he replies in a mischievous voice, you're telling me none of you recognize me? I'm hurt. It's me, Naruto. What happened next was not unexpected, but still funny to watch. Everyone's face simultaneously went through the same expressions: confusion, surprise, and then disbelief. All except Gaara and Neji, of course, whose eyes only narrowed, and Sasuke, who appeared to be missing. Those in the stands who heard were doing the same thing. Pretty soon, a collective WHAAAT sounded out. With a sweat drop, Naruto watches his classmates' reactions and asks, come on guys. Surely I have not changed that much. It's Shikamaru who sighs and replies in a lazy voice, troublesome blonde. What did you expect? When we last saw you, you were a loud guy who was shouting constantly about ramen and wearing a bright orange jumpsuit that screamed, here I am. Come kill me. Now you have new clothes, a new look, and you're quiet. You can't really blame us. I bet he is much stronger too. Man, this is so troublesome. I just want to go and watch the clouds. I don't care about becoming a Chunin. It's only because of that loud mouth, troublesome blonde screaming at me and Choji that I'm here. Kankuro then interjects with a smirk, you were a real midget with a stupid looking face too. Now it's everyone else's turn to sweat drop as we see Naruto suddenly appear crouched in a corner with a comically depressed look, drawing circles in the ground with a finger and a small cloud over his head that was somehow raining on him. If they were to listen closely, they would hear him muttering, I wasn't that short and my face was fine. And orange is an awesome color. What is wrong with orange? It's not my fault I like ramen either. Ramen is a gift from Kami. Why does everyone have to beat on ramen? What did ramen ever do to them? Poor ramen. Sweat drops growing. Most of the people are thinking along the lines of, yeah, that's Naruto all right. Suddenly though, Naruto reappears next to them as the proctor, Materiashi Anko, starts speaking. All right Gakis, now listen up and look here. The tournament has changed slightly, here are the new matches. Holding up a piece of paper showing a tournament tree, the matches went as follows. Match 1. Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. Match 2. Aburame Shino vs Subaku no Kankuro. Match 3. Nara Shikamaru vs Subaku no Tamari. Match 4. Uchiha Sasuke vs Subaku no Gaara. Semifinals. Winner of Match 1 vs Winner of Match 3. Winner of Match 2 vs Winner of Match 4. Final match. Winner of Match 5 vs Winner of Match 6. Got it memorized. Good. And no questions either. Now the rules are the same as the second round. Fight until your opponent is incapacitated or gives up or I decide to stop the match. Killing is allowed but frowned upon. I will try to intervene to prevent a killing blow, so if I say, stop, you stop. Or I will disqualify you. I also noticed we are missing Uchiha Sasuke. If he does not show up, he will be disqualified. Up in the stands. Upon hearing that the Uchiha would be disqualified, most of the crowd, primarily those who support their precious Uchiha-sama, go into an uproar. You can't do that. He is an Uchiha. Yeah, I came to see the Uchiha win the tournament. However, the screeching of Sakura is heard over everything. You can't do that, you crazy snake whore. Sasuke-kun is the strongest and should just be declared the winner now so he does not have to waste time on these weaklings. They should just promote Sasuke-kun now. In the arena, directing a small killer intent across the crowd, Anko shouts out, I am the proctor and my word is law. I don't give a damn if he's an Uchiha or not. This tournament is about showing the qualities of being Chunin, and if the brat can't show up on time, he does not deserve to become a Chunin. Now shut up and watch the tournament. Turning back to the competitors, all right brats. It's time for the first match. Everyone except Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Neji need to leave and go to the competitors' box. After clearing out, Naruto and Neji stood facing each other with loathing on their faces waiting for the match to start. Standing in between them, Anko raises her arm and slices it down while saying, the first match, Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. Hajime. She then jumps away to watch the fireworks. Naruto vs Neji. Moving into the opening stance of Jukin, Neji says in an arrogant tone, you should forfeit this match. Fate has declared me the winner. If you don't, I will not hesitate to show your inferiority to a genius. Again with the fate crap. What is up with this guy? Moving into his own stance, Naruto says, I swore I was going to hurt you for what you did to Hinata in the preliminaries. The way you berated her and broke her down was despicable. Especially considering she is part of your own family. There is no way I'm going to give up. Activating his Byakugan, Neji smirks and says, then come. Gladly. Naruto rushes in a burst of speed and unleashes a quick flurry of punches aimed to beat Neji to a pulp. Failing in that, he jumps away and comes back with a quick kick from behind. Blocked again. Jumping away to reconsider his options, Neji starts his taunting some more. My Byakugan can see everything, you baka. It does not matter where you attack from. Forming a familiar cross-hand seal, then let's see how you deal with multiple targets at once. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 8 Narutos appear and form a circle around Neji, who still has that infuriating smirk. No matter how many times you multiply, I will still win. Observe. Neji then flies towards the clones and starts unleashing Jukin strike after Jukin strike at the clones, who, while fighting back, still disappear after a solid hit. Finally landing a solid strike in the heart area on the Naruto in the back, who proceeds to cough out some blood. You see, while you sent your clones to attack me, I noticed you having more chakra than the others. I decided to humor you and get rid of your clones while saving you for last. I told you, fate has declared me the winner. Naruto then proceeds to smirk and says, shows what you know, you arrogant tem. Bunshin Daibakua. Sensing the buildup of chakra, Neji panics slightly and jumps away just as the clone explodes. Meanwhile with the rookies, Shikamaru, exploding clones, how troublesome. Shino, it seems Naruto's appearance is not the only thing that has changed. That was a Jonin level move he just used. Hinata, Naruto-kun, be careful. Ino, Naruto might actually pull this one off. Sakura, no way. So what, he can make his clones explode. Naruto baka is too much of a doby to do anything right. I bet Sasuke-kun could beat Neji in an instant. Kiba, yeah, alright. Rock Lee, Yash. Naruto-kun's flames of youth are exploding in a huge display of youthfulness. Back at the battle, Neji managed to escape the explosion with only minor burns. Smirking, he says, nice try, but it didn't work. A voice sounds behind him, Oh really? It seems you did just what I wanted you to do. Naruto drops his illusion as his sword swings down towards Neji. Take this. No time to dodge. I'll have to use it. Channeling chakra through his tenketsu, Neji starts spinning and shouts out, Hakusho Kaden. 8 trigrams palm rotation. A blue dome of chakra appears, blocking Naruto's blow and sending him flying. With the Hyuga up in the stands, the clan head, Hiashi, and the elders are astonished to see Neji, a side branch Hyuga, use one of the main house techniques. A small girl asks, Father, isn't that? Yes, Hanabi. It seems Neji has somehow learned techniques of the main branch. Back with Naruto and Neji. Having landed on his feet, Naruto makes a mistake and rushes in to try and capitalize on the expected disorientation of such rapid spinning. However, not affected in the least, Neji sends Naruto flying back with small series of strikes that closed some tenketsu points in his leg. Do you see now? Fate is on my side and you are destined to lose. Oh yeah, well I'm not going to give up, so let's take it up a notch. Throwing a couple shuriken, Naruto calls out, Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. And the number of shuriken quadruples. He then flies through a couple hand signs and calls, Futon, Daitapa. And the shuriken are now speeding towards Neji, who again uses the Kaden to block. His skills have skyrocketed in such a short time. How? I've worked for years to get this strong and I just barely defend. Angrily shouting out, how did you get so strong? You did not show near this level of skill in the preliminaries. A dead last, like you should not be giving me, a prodigy, this much trouble. I trained hard, harder than I ever had before, because I finally got acknowledged by someone. Someone who saw my potential and decided to teach me properly for once. I told you, fate does not control anyone. Anyone can get strong if they do it for the right reasons, and I'll prove it to you. Angry at Naruto's words, Neji decides to end the match and drops into a stance that everyone Hyuga recognized and calls out, Hake Rokujian Sho, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Rushing Naruto in a huge burst of speed, Neji starts striking Naruto's tenketsu in rapid succession. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. Seeing Naruto staggering on his feet, he says, I have closed all of your chakra points. You lose. No way. I will still win. You have lost. Nobody can escape their destiny, not you and not me. Everybody's fate is predetermined. You were fated to be a loser, much like I was fated to be born in the branch family and serve the main house. Trying to buy time while he figures a way out of this, Naruto asks, what are you talking about? Main house. Side branch. What do you mean? Scowling, Neji says, you mean you don't know? Very well. I will enlighten you on the Hyuga clan's destiny of hatred. Untying his headband and removing the bandages around his forehead, Neji reveals a seal on his forehead. Pointing to it, this is the Hyuga Soke no Juinjutsu, Hyuga main family's cursed seal technique. This seal is branded on all branch house members in the Hyuga clan by members of the main house to protect the Byakugan so that its secrets never fall into the hands of the enemy. However, to those of us branded, it is nothing more than a slave collar used to force obedience to the main house. Using a single hand sign, a main house Hyuga can activate the seal, causing intense pain up to the point of death. Neji continues to tell his tale, talking about how his father died because of the branch family and his hatred for the main house, with Naruto growing more and more infuriated as Neji talks about how unfair life was for him until he finally snaps at Neji's final statement. So do you see now? You could never understand my pain. You have no idea what it is like to be marked, a mark that causes people to look down on you, a mark that can never be wiped away. Trembling in fury, Naruto snaps out, I don't know. I don't know. I know more about being sealed than you could ever comprehend. Ripping off his coat and shirt, he forces open his tenketsu points and then channels some chakra to make his own seal visible on his stomach. Look at it. Look at it. You say I don't understand, but I do. Do you have any idea what this curse is? What I am forever cursed to be? Shaken at Naruto's fury, Neji only shakes his head. The stadium is completely silent in the wake of Naruto's outburst. So when Naruto's voice drops from yelling to a low tone, full of malice and hatred, he is still clearly heard. I'm sure you know the story of the Kyuubi's attack on the village 13 years ago. Everyone knows how the Yondaime Hokage killed it at the cost of his life and saved our village. But that was a lie. A lie to cover up the truth and attempt to spare an innocent life forever condemned by their beloved Yondaime's actions. The entire stadium is hanging on to every word and some flinch when Naruto starts to glare at the villagers in loathing. The truth of that night is this: a biju is a living mass of chakra that cannot be killed. It will only disperse and reform later. So in order to save the village, the Yondaime decided to take a newborn baby. Confronting the Kyuubi, the Yondaime then summoned the Shinigami, and used its power to seal the Kyuubi away at the cost of his soul, into that baby. Guess who that baby was? Realization begins to dawn on everyone who did not already know the truth. That's right. It was me. I am the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The last sentence is driven home as Naruto channels a massive amount of Kyuubi's chakra, entering his three-tailed state, throws his head back and releases a beastly roar that shakes the village to its core. With a voice altered by demonic chakra, Naruto growls, "Do you see? I am forever cursed with this power. Every day I protect this village by holding the Kyuubi in my body. And what do I get for it? Nothing but anger and hatred directed towards me. All my life I have been tortured by the villagers because of what I contain. They don't see me for me, they see me as the Kyuubi in human form." Anger dissipating, the fox's chakra disappears, leaving only sadness in its wake. With tears in his eyes he looks at Neji, who was shakily regaining his footing after falling when Naruto released the Kyuubi's power, and asks with tears streaming down his face, "Do you see, Neji? I can understand you more than you can imagine. You think your life is bad because of some mark on your forehead. Think about me and what I have gone through. The pain I've felt, the loneliness. You have family and love in your life. You grew up with everything I dreamed of having. I never knew unhappiness or love in my life until I met my best friend. Haku was a survivor of the Kiri bloodline purges and grew up in a life similar to my own. She understood my pain and I understood hers. We connected in a way I could never have imagined." A small smile crosses Naruto's face as he continues, "Haku brought me out of the darkness of my life. I will never forget it. She showed me, even in all the darkness and hatred of the world, there can be happiness and love. You need to find the same thing, Neji. You are on the same path I was, lost in your hatred and sadness, seeking a way to make your pain known to the world. You need to find your light, Neji, just like I did. You will find your life looking up, just like mine did." Knowing it is true, Neji asks in desperation, "How? I have nothing. Where would I find this light you're talking about?" Waving his arms slightly, Naruto asks, "Are you blind? Just look around you. Look at Hinata. Even though you tried to kill her, she still cares for you. Look at your teammates. Rock Lee treats you like a brother and Tenten is in love with you. You've been so caught up with yourself you never noticed what you had around you." Eyes widening, he turns his gaze to where his teammates and Hinata are sitting in the stands. Hinata is smiling at him and nods. Rock Lee was giving him a thumbs up with his teeth shining in the sun, and Tenten, although bright red at having her crushed announced to the world, still gives Neji a large smile. He's right. How could I have been so blind to what I already had? Turning back to Naruto, he bows deeply and says, "Thank you, Naruto, for opening my eyes to the truth. For what it's worth, if you ever need my help, I will be there by your side and support you. I swear this on my eyes." Turning to the proctor, Neji says, "Proctor, I forfeit. I no longer see a reason to fight anymore. Even if I did, I would not win." Nodding, Anko raises her arm and shouts, "Winner by forfeit, Uzumaki Naruto." Loud boos erupt from the majority of the stadium, but there was some cheering mixed in, which stuns Naruto as he never expected to be cheered for. Working over his astonishment, A happy grin that seems to light up the stadium spreads over Naruto's face, and grabbing his discarded shirt and coat and putting them back on, leaves towards the competitor's box with Neji to watch the next match. In the cage box, we find the Hokage, currently beaming down at Naruto in pride. Well done, Naruto. That speech of yours seems to have started changing the opinions of some of the villagers. I think I'm going to have to meet this Haku. She seems to have saved my godson's life. I think we're going to make a trip to Kiri after we find Tsunade. With the Hyuga clan. You did well, nephew. I think it's time I reveal what really happened that night to you. Standing up, Hiashi says, I will return shortly. I wish to speak to my nephew before the start of the next match. Making his way through the crowd, Hiashi eyes Naruto as he and Neji are walking out of the arena. It appears I was wrong about you, Naruto. You are not the beast you contain, I can see that now. In the competitor's booth, greeting the new friends at the top of the stairs were Hinata, Rock Lee, Tenten and Guy. Walking forward, Neji bows to them and says, I'm sorry for how I have treated you all. Please forgive me. Smiling, Hinata whispers, there is nothing to forgive, Neji-Nisan. Rock Lee enters his trademark, nice guy, pose and shouts, Naruto's words burn brightly with the ring of truth. I'm glad to see your flames of youth have been restored. Guy-sensei. This calls for a celebration. When I get out of these casts, I am going to run 10 laps around the village on my hands. I will join you in your youthful endeavor, Lee. But let us make it 20 laps. That will stoke our flames of youth in blazing display of youthfulness. Hugging his larger clone tightly, much to the horror of everyone else present, the dreaded, sunset genjutsu of youth, appears. Oh, Guy-sensei. Oh, Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Le. Whacking them both over the head, Tenten shouts, will you two stop your infernal genjutsu? You are scarring everyone for life. Tenten then walks up to Naruto and gives him a hug, thank you for opening Neji's eyes. I don't know if he would ever have noticed. Grinning and rubbing the back of his head sheepishly, it was nothing, Tenten. I only did what I could to help. Tenten then proceeds to whack him on the back of the head, causing him to fall face first into the ground. That was for revealing my feelings to everyone in the stadium, Yubaka. Turning red because she had basically just confirmed what Naruto said, she turns slightly red and shyly smiles at Neji. Also turning slightly red, Neji asks, so it's true. You really do have romantic feelings towards me? Blushing brightly now, Tenten nods, yes I do. What is going to happen now? Giving her a smile, Neji replies, I'm not sure if I can return them yet, however I would like to try. Would you like to go do something after the exams with me? Eyes shining, Tenten loops her arm around Neji and says, yes. I'd like that very much. Why don't we go grab a seat and talk about it while we watch the rest of the tournament? Nodding, Neji takes Tenten's hand and they both walk off to the stands. Anime tears running down their faces, Guy and Lee follow them shortly after, shouting about the springtime of youth being a beautiful thing. Naruto then heads in the other direction, seeing as how he had to fight in other matches, went and joined the rest of the competitors. Walking in the room, all eyes turned to Naruto with various expressions on everyone's faces. Shikamaru looked slightly sad, but unsurprised. Shino was as expressionless as ever. The only indication he acknowledged what he heard was the slight frowning of his eyebrows. Temari and Kankuro are switching between looking at Naruto in confusion and Gaara with fear. Gaara was currently gripping his head in pain while staring at Naruto with bloodlust apparent. Walking towards Shikamaru, he stops in front of him and asks, how long have you known? With a rare serious look, Shikamaru replies, I've known since the academy. Surprised at how long ago that was, Naruto asks, how did you find out? There were enough clues if you were able to see them. The instructors calling you demon and the small glares sent your way when we went over the subject of the Kyuubi attack during history lessons were the big clues. The rest just sort of fell into place, when I did some research. Looking curious, and knowing what I contained didn't change your opinion of me. Shaking his head, no, it didn't. I may act lazy, but I am very smart. I knew you were only the container of the Kyuubi, not the Kyuubi itself. Looking around and noticing Shino listening but the Suna siblings weren't, Shikamaru stepped closer to Naruto and said in a quieter voice, I am also aware the little detail you decided to leave out of your speech to the crowd there. I'm very surprised that most of the village hasn't noticed it. Instantly knowing Shikamaru was talking about him being the Yondaimi's son, Naruto looks dead serious and says, I would appreciate if you kept that to yourself, Shika. Not many people know the whole truth and I don't want it revealed to the public quite yet. Nodding, I understand. I'll keep it to myself. Smiling slightly, Naruto thanks Shikamaru and then turns to Shino who had been listening. Did you know already as well, Shino? Nodding, I did. I am also aware of the fact Nara-san was referring to. Knowing this can be bad if the fact he was the Yondaimi's son was known by too many people, Naruto asks, do you know if anyone else is aware I'm his son? I can't let that fact be known by too many people. The risk of someone revealing that little detail before I'm ready could have big repercussions on the village. The fact you two already know is bad enough. Shaking his head, Shino says, I do not think anyone else in our group knows this. I only found out after I decided to confront my two-san with my suspicions. Sighing in relief, Naruto says, that's good. I suppose we should watch the rest of the tournament now. Looking at both of them, Naruto asks, have you been informed about the big event happening later? Seeing them both nod, Naruto decides to give some advice. I would recommend you conserve your strength during your matches. We are going to be in the fight of our lives soon. You will need all the energy you can get. Hearing his and Konkuro's names called, Shino says, I will follow your advice. It is time for my own match, I must go. Walking up to Shino, Konkuro says, let's give them a good show. We need to make the match believable, but not seriously hurt each other in the process. We don't know when the signal to start the invasion will come. I agree. It would not do if we are seriously injured when the battle starts. Let us go. Seeing them depart, Naruto deciding he needs to talk to Gaara as he has been staring at him for the past few minutes, asks Shikamaru and Temari to leave the room so they can talk alone. Shikamaru mutters something about troublesome blondes and their secret meetings and leaves. Temari, however, does not move and looks at Naruto with suspicion. Seeing this, Naruto reassures Temari, I'm not trying to hurt him. I just want to talk to him and I don't want any eavesdroppers. Do you think I would jeopardize the alliance by attacking the son of the Yondaime Cage? Still suspicious, but nodding, Temari leaves as well. Turning to Gaara, he walks over before a wall of sand blocks his way. Holding his hands up, Naruto says, calm yourself, Gaara. I'm not going to hurt you. Kyuubi wishes to speak to the Ikibi. I'm going to touch your forehead and bring you and Shukaku into my mindscape so we can all speak face to face. Do you object to this? The sand wavers slightly before dissipating. Gazing at Naruto with a dark look on his face, Gaara say, I will kill you if you try anything. Nodding, Naruto steps directly in front of Gaara and slowly brings two fingers up and touches Gaara on the forehead. Closing his eyes, Naruto feels for the Shukaku and Gaara's presence and brings them into his mind. In Naruto's mindscape, appearing on top of Kyuubi's head, and Gaara on Shukaku's, Kyuubi decides to speak. It has been some time since I've seen you, Shukaku. The giant sand tanuki, raccoon, looking very out of place in the grassy meadow, snaps out, just what do you want, Kurama? I'm eager to feel the blood soaking in my sand. Surprised, Naruto looks down and asks, your name is Kurama? Yes, it is. The number of our tales is just a title. I was wondering when you were going to ask about it. Oh, I suppose that makes sense. Sorry for interrupting. Turning his gaze back to Shukaku, the now revealed Kurama says, I want you to stop tormenting your jailer. That being the last thing Shukaku was expecting to hear, he forgot to try and look menacing and simply asked, why should I do that? Looking disappointed at Shukaku's attitude, Kurama says, "Have you forgotten your purpose, Shukaku? You know of the task our creator left us, yet you simply run rampant across the sands, leaving destruction and chaos in your wake." Looking angry, "That's because the humans sealed me in that accursed teapot for a few hundred years. Then, when I finally break free, I'm sealed in some lowly human child, taking my freedom away yet again. I've been sealed away much longer than you have, Kurama, and honestly I'm tired of it. I want to be free again." Kyubi shakes its head slightly. "You must let go of the past, Shukaku. If you did, you would realize that even if you break free, you would simply be captured and sealed again. Instead of fighting this, adapt and work with your jailer and you will find life is more bearable than you would expect. I am given plenty of freedom, I have free reign of the Kit's mindscape and I've also signed a contract with him that allows me to be summoned in the outside world. You could have this too if you only stopped fighting." Looking fairly contemplative, Shukaku looks at the red-headed boy on his head in curiosity and asks, "You have been listening, Gaara. If I do what Kurama is asking, would you grant me the same measure of freedom?" Gaara, who had indeed been listening, was very confused at this turn of events and it showed on his face. Naruto, seeing this, decides to speak on Shukaku's behalf. "I would do it, Gaara. Contrary to popular belief, the Biju are not simply monsters who cause needless destruction and deserve to be sealed away. While the rest of the world may not realize this, we, the Jinchuriki, can. I knew that Kurama attacked our village. But I also knew he was controlled when he did and was a victim in all of this. I knew I could not free him, as that would kill us both, but I tried to make life being sealed as bearable as I could. I think you should do the same." Shukaku, who was listening to Naruto's speech, was surprised at his attitude towards him and his brethren. This human is different than the others. He does not see us as monsters like everyone else. He respects us. His aura actually feels similar to the one of our creator. Very interesting. His musings were interrupted as Gaara, finally convinced, nods his head and says, "I am willing to work with Shukaku. I would like to have my mind at peace for once in my life. If granting Shukaku a measure of freedom is required for that, I am willing to do it." Kurama nods his head and says, "A wise decision, young one. I trust you will keep your end of the bargain, Shukaku." Nodding, Shukaku responds, "I will honor our agreement. In exchange for a measure of freedom in Gaara's mindscape and occasional summons outside of the seal, I will stop tormenting the boy and allow him peace. I will stop my whispering in his mind and allow him to sleep without consequence." Standing up and bowing in Shukaku's direction, Naruto says, "I thank you for listening to us. I know you were distrusting of me since Gaara and I met. I appreciate being allowed to do this for you. I will now return us to the outside world." Before fading away, Shukaku decides to remark, "You are an interesting human indeed, Uzumaki Naruto. For the first time of my existence, I am pleased to have met a human." Shukaku and Gaara then fade out. Jumping down off of Kurama, Naruto bows, "Thank you for this, Kurama." Looking down at his jailer, Kurama says, "It needed to be done. Shukaku was always the most stubborn of us, sometimes needed a firm hand to set him straight. I just wish the rest of the world could understand us as well as you do, Kit." Nodding in understanding, "It is a shame really. There is so much we could learn from you all. Unfortunately, Jinchuriki and their Biju counterparts face much prejudice and discrimination in the world. I want to change that someday, but it's things like this that make me realize how truly daunting that task would be." Laying down, Kurama says, "For what it is worth, Kit, I hope you succeed. Now it is time for you to return. Much time has passed in the real world and the others are starting to get worried." Nodding, Naruto says goodbye and leaves the mindscape. Back in the real world, opening his eyes to Shikamaru poking him lightly, he hears, "Oi, Naruto. Wake up already. You're missing the matches." Shaking off the minor disorientation and looking around, Naruto asks, "Sorry about that. There was something I had to take care of. What have I missed?" Sighing, Shikamaru says, "It's troublesome, but you've missed mine and Shino's matches. That puppet guy, Konkuro, won against Shino, and they are both in the med bay. Konkuro had minor chakra exhaustion from Shino's insects and Shino got hit with some Senbon coated in a paralyzing agent and is waiting for the effects to wear off. I won against Tamari after trapping her with my shadow and she decided to check on you two before leaving to meet up with her sensei. Gaara woke up from whatever trance you two were in as they called Gaara's and Sasuke's match and left for the arena. Looking over the railing, Naruto sees Gaara but Sasuke. Curious he asks, "Hey Shika, where's the Tem at? He's still not show up." Shaking his head, Shikamaru replied, "No, he hasn't shown. It looks like the crowd is starting to get restless though." In the cage booth, motioning his Genma over, the Hokage tells him, "Inform the proctor that Uchiha Sasuke is disqualified due to lateness." The cage hears this as his mouth twists in a snarl behind the veil, but calms himself and decides to ask the Hokage, "Can we not give him 5 more minutes to arrive? I am eager to see my son test his skills against the last loyal Uchiha." Looking at the cage, before shaking his head, the Hokage replies, "I am sorry Cage Dono, but I cannot allow any favoritism towards my ninjas, last Uchiha or not. Following the orders of a superior is part of being a Chunin. By not showing up on time, young Sasuke is showing he thinks himself above the rules. I cannot allow it. He can try again in 6 months at the next series of exams." The cage then suggests, then perhaps a compromise is in order. Since many of the visiting nobility came here specifically to see the Uchiha's match, how about disqualifying him and deny him his chance of promotion for these exams, but allow him to fight in a sort of exhibition match at the end of the tournament against the tournament winner? That would allow the crowd to see the Uchiha fight, but still punish him for his disregard of the rules. Considering it for a minute, the Hokage nods and says, "Very well Cage Dono. That is an acceptable arrangement." Turning to Genma again, inform the proctor of this decision. Bowing, Genma shunshins down to the arena to relay the Hokage's orders. In the arena, Anko nods, "Hi, I understand. I'll inform the crowd." Turning to the crowd as Genma shunshins back to the cage booth, she announces the decision. Due to not showing up in time for his match, Uchiha Sasuke has been disqualified from the matchups. However, the Hokage has allowed an exhibition match between the winner of the tournament and Uchiha Sasuke in order to satisfy the visiting nobility. However, he will not be given the chance for promotion to Chunin. So, winner by disqualification, Subaku no Gaara. With the audience, the civilian crowd was making its displeasure at the Hokage's decision known. The civilian council was especially vocal. The ninja side, -1 pink-haired banshee who was currently screeching hey they could not do that to her precious Sasuke-kun, on the other hand, understood the logic in the decision and was instead grumbling about the insubordination the Uchiha was showing. With Naruto and Shikamaru grumbling, Naruto is saying, "Figures the Tem gets special treatment. At least he's not getting promoted. But someone still has to fight him when he is fresh and ready to go, while the rest of us have been fighting all day. It's completely unfair." Nodding in agreement, Shikamaru says, "It is unfair, but everyone came to see the last Uchiha fight in the exams. There would be too many political ramifications if he were not allowed to fight. What a troublesome situation." Back in the arena, we will now start the semifinal matchups. The first match is Aburame Shino vs Subaku no Gaara. Will Aburame Shino? A swirl of leaves interrupts Anko as 2 people appear in the arena. The shorter is a teenager with black hair shaped like duck's ass, wearing a black, one-piece jumpsuit with a high collar, the Uchiha fan emblazoned on the back and an arrogant smirk on his face. The taller of the two, with gravity-defying silver hair, his one visible eye curved up in what could only be called an eye smile, mask covering most of his face and wearing the typical uniform of a Konoha Jonin. Uchiha Sasuke and Hatake Kakashi have arrived at the arena. Raising the hand not holding his ICHA, Kakashi sheepishly scratches the back of his head and asks, we aren't late are we? A smirk on her face, Anko responds, yes you are. Too late actually. Visible eye widening, Kakashi asks, you mean Sasuke got disqualified? Said Uchiha's smirk vanishes and an enraged look appears as Anko answers with a cheerful, yep. Fuming in rage, Sasuke shouts out, what? You can't disqualify me. I'm an Uchiha. You should be bowing at my feet for deciding to grace you with my presence you snake whore. Narrowing her eyes at the arrogant Uchiha, Anko says in a deadly tone, you better watch your words you arrogant prick, or you might just lose the one chance to fight that the Hokage decided to allow you, political ramifications be damned. You were ordered to appear this morning with the rest of the contestants and you did not. You're lucky we did not disqualify you then and there, deciding to wait for your match to start before making the final decision. Quickly interjecting before his student can say something to cause further embarrassment, Kakashi asks, so Sasuke can still fight? Frowning, but nodding slightly, Anko replies, hi. Hokage-sama decided to let the Uchiha fight in an exhibition match with the winner of the tournament. Though he has no chance of promotion due to his blatant disregard of the rules. Kakashi is unable to respond before Sasuke, still shouting in an enraged tone, I don't give damn about this tournament. It's only filled with a bunch of weaklings that are not worth to lick the dirt off my shoes. I'm an Uchiha, that old fool of a Hokage should just go off and die somewhere. I should just be given the promotion to Chunin, no Jonin, instead of wasting my time pandering to these simpering. Sasuke's response is cut off as Kakashi covers his mouth before he can make things any worse. Things were already getting bad. The collective killer intent of most everyone in the stadium is leveled on him because of the sheer arrogance he displays as well as blatantly insulting the Hokage, and Anko was being restrained by two Anbu due to trying to attack Sasuke as soon as he called the Hokage an old fool. One of the Anbu, turning to Kakashi says in a disgusted tone, Kakashi-senpai, I would recommend you taking your student and leave to the stands to watch the tournament quietly. I smiling again, good idea Eagle-san. I'll take him now. Turning to address Sasuke, Eagle says in deadly tone, and you Uchiha, should take Materayashi-san's advice and watch your mouth. Your words could be considered treason. If you don't want to be taken into custody on insubordination charges, I would you very quietly, go with your sensei and wait for your fight. Now, do we understand each other? Shrugging off the killer intent, Sasuke turns his back on the Anbu with, HN, and says in a demanding voice, Kakashi-san take me to the stands. I will wait for my match up there. Now, with a sigh, Kakashi grabs Sasuke's shoulder and they disappear in a swirl of leaves. The Anbu let go of Anko and disappear as well. Shaking herself off, Anko announces, sorry about the interruption of the arrogant bastard. Sakura screeches out from somewhere in the crowd, he's not a bastard you snake whore. Take it back. How dare you disrespect my Sasuke-kun like that? Tick mark throbbing on her head, Anko shouts out, will someone please shut her up? I'm tired of being interrupted. With Sakura, we currently find Sakura, sitting alone because nobody wanted to be near when she started screeching, frozen in fear as a hail of jutsu, throwing weapons, glass bottles, a few forks, many bowls, a rubber chicken, dog poop, fresh fruit, and many other strange things impact the area around Sakura, leaving her with swirly eyes, limbs slightly twitching and steam rising in the area around her. Back at the arena, Anko, thank you, that is much better. I gotta ask though, who threw the rubber chicken and all that other weird stuff? A loud voice belonging to Naruto shouts, that was me. All that stuff was from the pranking kit I keep on my person at all time. You keep a pranking? Never mind. I don't think I want to know. Back to business. Will Aburame Shino please? Anko is interrupted yet again and deciding she has had enough, throws some kunai at the med nin who appeared and pins him to the wall in mid-stride. Walking over spinning a kunai on her finger she goes to talk to the med nin. Upon hearing what he had to say, She nods and frees the med nin. He proceeds to scrambles off as fast he can while Anko announces, it appears Aburame Shino is still suffering the effects of his previous match and is unable to compete. So winner by forfeit and advancing to the final round, Subaku no Gaara. Will Uzumaki Naruto and Nara Shikamaru report to the arena for the second match of the semifinals? Gaara, grumbling about not getting to fight, disappears in a whirlwind of sand as Naruto and Shikamaru make their way to the center of the arena. Raising her hand and slashing it down, Anko announces, this match will determine who moves on to the final round to face Subaku no Gaara in the final round. Uzumaki Naruto vs Nara Shikamaru. Hajime. And jumps back out of harm's way. Naruto vs Shikamaru. Naruto is currently in a taijutsu stance waiting for Shikamaru to make the first move. However, Shikamaru yawns out and says, so troublesome. I don't really want to fight. I'd rather just go watch the clouds. Looking slightly confused, Naruto moves out of his stance and asks, then why don't you quit? No one is making you fight. A pause, then Shikamaru shrugs and says, fine, I forfeit, and walks away to the stands. Most of the stadium immediately face faults. With a sweat drop, Naruto says in disbelief, I wasn't really serious. I didn't think he'd do it. Also with a sweat drop, Anko announces, that was anticlimactic but okay. Winner by forfeit, Uzumaki Naruto. There were no cheers or boos, just stunned disbelief and wondering if a person could really be that lazy. With Shikamaru in the stands, we find the lazy genin sitting in the stands next to his teammates, with a certain troublesome blonde girl berating him quite loudly while the other just kept on eating his chips. Damn it, Shika. Why did you do that? You just gave up without a fight. I know you're lazy, but what gives? Shikamaru sighs and lazily replies, in case you didn't notice, troublesome blonde, when I raised my hand to cover my yawn, I discreetly made the hand sign for my Kajimane no Jutsu, shadow possession technique, behind my back and trapped Naruto in my shadow. However, he was still able to move out of his taijutsu stance. I knew I could not win if my jutsu would not work on him. So I forfeit the match. I don't think he even noticed what happened. He must have a lot of physical strength to be able to overpower my jutsu and not even notice. So troublesome. Slightly stunned at the apparent Dobi being to overpower their teammates' jutsu, Ino just sat in silence while staring at Naruto. Choji. Well, he just kept on eating his chips. Down in the arena, having appeared in the arena as soon as the previous match was over, Gaara and Naruto started staring at each other with feral smiles, their blood being stirred and screaming at them to prove who is the best. Sand started swirling around Gaara's feet while blue flames were doing the same with Naruto. Anko, feeling the rising tension between the two ready to explode, quickly announces the start of the match. Final match. Uzumaki Naruto vs Subaku no Gaara. Hajime. In the cage booth, the cage and Hokage are eagerly watching this. It is the cage, however, who comments, a battle between Jinchuriki. That is rarely seen outside of wartime. This match will be very exciting. The Hokage simply nods and thinks, for once I agree with you, snake face. Be careful, Naruto. Naruto vs Gaara. Gaara, looking eagerly at Naruto, says, I've been waiting for this battle. Do not hold back, Uzumaki Naruto, for I will not. Let us see who is the better Jinchuriki and may the best win. Naruto, while deactivating his weights and resistance seal, responds just as eagerly, all right. No more holding back. I'm coming at you with everything I have. Channeling his Kitsunbai, Fox Fire covers Naruto's hands as he drops into the opening stance of the Kitsune Taijutsu style. Letting out a feral growl, Naruto vanishes and reappears to the left of Gaara with a fierce swipe aimed at his shoulder that Gaara's sand tries to block, but due to the heat coming from the flames, instantly turns to glass and shatters. While having the effect of lessening the force of the blow, still sent Gaara back a few feet. Eyes widening at his sand's apparent inability to stop his blows, Gaara jumps back and decides to go on the offensive. Flinging his arm in Naruto's direction, Gaara cries out, Suna Shuriken. Quickly creating a cage bunshin and substituting himself with it, Naruto narrowly avoids getting hit as the area where he just vacated is destroyed. Seeing this, Gaara quickly directs his sand to try and catch Naruto, who puts on a burst of speed and moves all around the arena as he dodges the attempts to catch him. Still being chased by the sand, Naruto release a quick futon, Daitapa wind release, great breakthrough behind him, managing to blast the sand away from him. Capitalizing on the opportunity, Naruto quickly moves inside Gaara's defense and lands a heavy blow to his stomach that sends the redhead flying and cracking his sand armor. Frustrated at his lack of ability to land a decent blow on Naruto, Gaara gathers all the sand he can, forming a cloud all around him and calls, Futon, Mugen Sajin, Daitapa wind release, infinite sand cloud, great breakthrough, and releases it in all directions in massive wave that engulfs the arena in a huge sandstorm. When it clears, however, Naruto is nowhere to be found. Concerned, Gaara looks all around in an attempt to locate him before he hears from below, Gotcha. Having used the Doden, Mogaragakure no Jutsu, Earth Release, hiding like a mole, to escape, Naruto appears from below Gaara and lands a Kitsunbai-fueled blow right to Gaara's jaw, causing him to fly back and land in the middle of the arena. His face cracking, Gaara compliments the blonde, saying, Impressive Uzumaki. If not for my sand armor, that blow might have finished me. Getting an idea, Naruto smirks and says, I'm not done yet. Let's see you get away from this. He then creates a large amount of clones who then throw shuriken from all directions at Gaara, causing him to form a dome of sand in order to protect himself. Seeing the dome, Naruto smirks and thinks, perfect. Creating a cage bunshin who starts flying through one series of hand signs while Naruto does another. The clone calls out Futon, Atsugai, wind release, pressure damage, while Naruto calls Kitsunbai, Gokaku no Jutsu, Fox Fire Grand Fireball. Combining the two techniques and forming the collaboration jutsu, Naruto calls out, Futon Kitsunbai collaboration, Kitsuyubi no Guon, wind release, Fox Fire collaboration, Kyuubi's roar. The Kyuubi-shaped being made of fox fire lets out a mighty roar while flying forward and consuming the sand dome in a mighty explosion, throwing dust up and obscuring everyone's vision, leaving the entire arena stunned by what they just saw. In the audience, that was amazing. Such a powerful technique. What is that blue fire? It's much stronger than normal fire. With Sasuke. Blue fire. Where did the Dobi learn this? All of that power should belong to me. And why can't I copy it? Seething in rage with his Sharingan activated, Sasuke is watching the battle that is clearly out of his league and is angry. Angry and jealous. That power should be mine. Not in the hands of some Dobi. I need it to kill Itachi. With various classmates and their sensei. Asuma's cigarette fell from his mouth at the display of the previous technique. Asuma sensei, what was that? How was Naruto able to do that? This kid. He's showing skills that most Chunin don't have, maybe not some Jonin. Just how strong are you, Naruto? Naruto-kun is very strong, Kurenai sensei. That he is Hinata. I knew his appearance had changed, but for his skills to skyrocket like this is nothing short of incredible. He's fighting at a level most Jonin use. Back in the arena, when the smoke clears, we see a panting Naruto surrounded by glass field, with a glass dome in the middle of the arena. Whoa, I knew that was strong, but it changed the whole field to glass. Wait, Gaara. Naruto rushes over to the dome and, not seeing any way in, reaches for the sword across his back. Channeling as much wind chakra he can, he slices the dome open, revealing a deeply gasping Gaara, covered in burns due to basically being cooked alive. Reaching in and picking Gaara up and setting him down on the glass-plated ground. Turning to call for the medics, Naruto feels his arm being grabbed. Looking back to Gaara, he hears him say, "That was a good fight. You win." Gaara then succumbs to unconsciousness. Seeing this, Anko calls out, "Shusa. Uzumaki Naruto." The victor of the Chunin exam tournament is Uzumaki Naruto. Looking around at field, she then turns to the crowd and says, "Due to the condition of the field, we will take a 1-hour intermission to restore the field before the exhibition match." Turning to Naruto, she says, "Get your strength back quick, Gaki. You might need it." Locking eyes with Sasuke, who is currently smirking at him, he says, "I was born ready to kick that arrogant Tem's ego down a few pegs. I really look forward to it."